Telegraph, and Sophia Gaston, Director of the British Foreign Policy Group. Welcome to you both. I mean, I have to say, whenever an honours list is published, I'm ashamed to be British. I don't know why we go through with this ridiculous charade.
Well, I am a person who does feel that, a lot of our public officials do work very hard. There is a high degree of public service that's motivating them. Absolutely. But I do...
But these two guys crashed the election for Mrs May, and now they got a CBE.
No, I agree. I think this has really gone beyond the pale, and I think it makes a mockery of the whole system. I think it would have been warranted to hand out a couple of awards and honours to recognise some people who've been really instrumental in keeping the country afloat in quite a difficult period. But I think this just looks like a free-for-all, and at a time when trust in our parliament and our politics has never felt more under threat, I think this is a very dangerous move.
7 more peers, do we really need that? What was it, 800 of them over there already?
Well, I suppose Boris Johnson would really hope there'd be pro-Brexit and helping him get legislation through as he needs. But then one thing, actually, speaking of Nick Timothy, CBE, as he will then see.
Yeah, and columnist for the Telegraph,
certainly,
let's not forget.
I have to say one thing, it certainly speaks to, dare I suggest, the selflessness of Theresa May, that she's still giving him that honour, given all that he's written in our pages, ungallant as they have been in recent months. And still what we see, maybe I'm just a bit jealous, because obviously now one of our columnists has got a CBE, another columnist is Prime Minister, and so the bar is set high for me.
But she's given a doctor an honour, her housekeeper. I mean, what do we live in? Do we live in a sort of monarchy run by the Prime Minister?
It does feel deeply tin-eared and just completely out of step with where we should be. It does also give the impression that perhaps Theresa May was sort of handing out promises and offers left, right and centre to keep herself afloat in a difficult time. I mean, that's the overwhelming impression for me. It's one of weakness.
There's the charge of hypocrisy, is there not? Because she made that joke at the Spectator Parliamentary Awards about how she was inclined to retch when she heard that Sir Craig Oliver, the David Cameron's former comms chief, had been given a knighthood.
And guess who's got a knighthood?
Oh, Sir Robbie Gibb? No.
Her former communications chief.
Oh, it really is extraordinary, and I think it's something that every Prime Minister seems to think that they'll be the one to turn the tide on this abhorrent practice, and then, lo and behold, at the end of the day. But I think she had a real opportunity to
Tony
sense
Blair
the
did not
mood.
do a resignation honours list, so he on this one he comes out okay. Now, just finally, what about Geoffrey Boycott? I mean, obviously a great cricketer, but also someone with a conviction for spousal abuse, who also broke Britain's anti-apartheid embargo.
It really beggars belief. I mean, Theresa May, one of the things she had seemed to really want to put as part at the heart of her legacy was a commitment to advancing the rights and agency of women. And this, to me, just seems a complete backward step.
I think she was trying to honour Boycott, the cricketer, rather than anything else.
Yeah, but that's the point. Should you honour people who are controversial in other ways? I mean, she likened herself to Boycott, didn't she? And she wants everyone to know she's a cricket fan.
Well, so he clearly is an idol of hers. And so, obviously, you are correctly and rightly highlighting the difficulties of these things, because it seems then you're endorsing the entire character rather than just, the sportsman.
I think we are getting to a time in our society now where we have to say you can't really separate the actions and the man.
All right. Now, speaking of which, the Speaker, John Bercow, Stephen Glover puts the boot in royally. Does he deserve the boot?
Well, Stephen Glover draws on how in his first encounters with him, he knew John Bercow from this sort of ERG Monday Club right-winger days. And I think one reason why Bercow...
The alleged Hang Nelson Mandela T-shirt days.
Quite. And obviously the one thing Bercow has demonstrated over the last few decades is an ability to be a sort of political chameleon, and so softening, becoming more liberal to appeal to Labourites when they want to get him into the Speaker's chair. And actually, before the referendum, he was the darling of Jacob Rees-Mogg and ERG. They saved him from the 2015 coup when they tried to get him out. He helped them champion an EU referendum in the first place, attaching it to a Queen's speech, I recall, in sort of 2013. And now the shoe is on the other foot. They have not liked the judgments he's made. But I guess it's because he's been awkward through and through in the Speaker's chair.
And talk that he won't get his peerage either.
Well, I think he does leave a very mixed legacy. On the one hand, he's really strengthened the voice and agency of Parliament. I think on the whole, that's a good thing for democracy. He's also been a champion of LGBTQ rights. He's also helped to make Parliament more family-friendly. These are all great things. But on the other side, he's clearly politicised that position in a way that could be problematic. And let's not forget, there is this huge stain of these bullying allegations hanging over him. And the way in which they just have not been dealt with, I think, really does tarnish that legacy.
I mean, as a speaker, though, and this is where you get in this problem whether you take the man or the job. I mean, I do think, with hindsight, he'll be viewed as one of the great parliamentarians, a man who, at a time of national division, stood up for Parliament and attempted to see if there was a majority for anything.
Well, extraordinary times call for extraordinary acts, but I do think we do have to be careful about some of the... We are eroding conventions left, right and centre, and we do have to be careful because these are the institutions that have upheld our democracy for many years and given us peace and prosperity, and we just have to be careful that in a time of crisis politics, we're not chipping away too much right now and failing to think about what could come next.
He'd certainly love to be seen as a great reformer, given he encouraged 85 minutes of praise from MPs saying exactly that. But the Bubble, I would say there's a limit on how reformist he can be, given that Dame Laura Cox in her bullying inquiry effectively said he needed to resign for Parliament in order to be able to clean itself up.
Well, he is resigning from Parliament for now. Whether he'll be back in the upper house, we'll have to wait and see. Thank you both very much indeed. Lots more to talk about in the next hour.